story was so humbling to hear. Like I was like, wow. And then they're like, but guess how much of money I've made here. And they're like I'm doing this, like they're investing all this stuff, and they like broke their generational curse of poverty.
COO of Pros. Welcome to The Pursuit. I'm your host, Josh Holland. Today, our special guest is my man, our COO, Justin Gossling.
Thanks, bro.
How you doing, dog?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here, dude.
Are you sure you're happy to be here?
I've heard a lot about this.
I feel like we've been trying to get this thing started for the past half hour, and yet still got work to do, bro. Bust out that computer.
I definitely avoid it, so. But I'm happy to be here.
Dude, no, really appreciate your time, man. I know that taking time to do this, like I've seen you in action for the past couple years, and what you guys deal with on a daily basis is pretty incredible. And I think that, man, like it really is just remarkable, like just seeing how much we've had to adapt and change, and like what you guys have been up to. So appreciate you making time, dude.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like with you, our Freedom Pros has scaled so fast that everyone used to know you, and now I feel like it's at the point that most people don't know who you are, what you do, other than like the show.
Sure.
And I feel like it would be good to maybe you give us your background a little bit on, a little bit about J Money.
Yeah, let's do it. So I guess the easiest thing is I'm from Arizona. I was born and raised here. So grew up here, went to school at BYU.
Nice.
So pretty vanilla there.
Got the Utes hat on. You guys can see this.
I met my wife there. We've been married for, almost 11 years.
Let's go.
We have 3 kids. I have twins. They're 5. And I have a 1-year-old son. He's nuts.
He's the man, dude.
That's always fun. He's fun. And then obviously after BYU, I started my career in finance. That's what I got my undergrad in. I think in college, my dad kind of works in finance in a hybrid, and so he's like, hey, you need to go into finance. That's the only way you're going to be successful. So I was like, okay.
The only way.
I didn't think about anything else. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do finance. I got there, and then I went into the clubs, and I was like, okay, which career space makes the most amount of money, And so I went, and I saw the investment banking club was like, yeah, we make the most. I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing.
So I got into that and did some internships in finance throughout college, and I started my career in investment banking. And dude, it was a grind. I was working like 100 hours a week.
You guys were in Texas, right?
Yeah, we lived in Dallas, and it was crazy because I was like, man, dude, there's only like 168 hours in a week, right? And I was in the office, like clocking, not even kidding you, like at my desk. Don't include drive time, eating lunch or anything, 100 hours.
Jeez.
100 hours. So like, dude, when you think about that, like priorities become like, they're like, you have to really choose like what's important at that point, right?
Oh yeah, like zero work-life balance.
Oh, 100%. And most of the time, the days I got the most time with my wife were Sunday. So
Really?
like I would get home, I'd usually like get in at like 1 or 2 in the morning, sleep for a few hours, and like just like I would spend every second I possibly could with her. And like
Jeez.
how I got here, it's kind of funny because like over time I started to value. I'm like, okay, what do I value in life, right? And like that's eventually why I decided to change.
Had like a kind of revisit, like where am I going? What are my priorities here? And then is this job even fitting in that?
Totally. So, well, like the money is amazing. Like,
oh yeah.
The career path is amazing. Like, dude, out of college, you're making like over $100,000. Like, I think my first year I made like 135, and I was like, yeah, we worked a lot, but like my trajectory every year, like, dude, my bonus was $50K.
Wow.
Right? Like, very few jobs out of out of college can you make just your year in bonus was, almost 100% of my salary, and every year it steps up, right? So you can make in your, third year like $300,000. Obviously, you're grinding,
dude. Yeah,
but your trajectory to make $1 million is
right
easily there. Like 7-8 years, right?
Wow. How was Brooke during all that?
Dude, so that's one of the things, man, is like we had the twins and like I didn't see my kids for a
Two
year.
kids working
100 hours a week, she had no help, no family.
out of state.
My kids were in like, so they were born preemie, they were in the NICU. So like dude, it was just her. Like we had help come in like every few weeks, but like dude, it was nuts. And like finally one night we're like, I don't think this is we're working, you know? And I was like, I got to do a career change.
Wow.
And so it was crazy because like we had that like epiphany, and I was just like, we got to do something different. Like this is just burning me out, right? And I'm like, well,
And how long did that take? Like
2 years, 2 years.
Wow.
Like I was going for like 2 years straight, and I was just like, dude, this is too much.
can't do it. Wow.
It was too much. So Dustin and I had been best friends since high school. You
Yeah.
know? And he had been like, we had sold together, like we'd done doors a bunch. Like I'd done it in college, and then I'd done it like, you know, in between like the summers and stuff. And so like he was like, hey, I'm selling solar, dude, and I'm killing it. Like he was in Arizona, and I'm like, bro, because we had sold solar together at Legacy in like 2015.
So like the early days.
I graduated college early, and so he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna sell with our friend," and I was like, "All right, dude, I'll come out." You know, I was selling for like I graduated in December, and I started my job in like April or May, so I had like 4 months, probably May. So I had like 4 months to sell, dude, and dude, I was grinding. I loved it. Like at the time, I thought I was making bank. I was making 225 a kilowatt fixed. All self-gens.
All self-gens.
All self-gens. You were
Dude.
just grinding, bro.
Dude.
No setters, no nothing. We were selling PPA, so you could only sell two prices. You could only sell a PPA. And they modeled everything for, like, you couldn't do anything. Like, you just showed up, you showed them the proposal, and you said, hey, here, you get the escalator or the flat rate.
Wow.
That's it. It was fixed pay. No adders, though. So
Hey.
that was kind of nice, but...
But there were adders. You
Were
were paying for it in your
huge
20,
adders. I was
200
like,
bucks
dude,
kilowatt.
225 a kilowatt? What's going on here?
Yeah. No adders though.
No.
Yeah.
But dude, I made like 80 grand in like that for 4 months, and I was just like blown away. And then
Wow.
when Dustin then I was telling him like, dude, I'm burnt out. I'm ready to make a change. He's like, dude, I'm killing it in solar. And he had told me like, hey, I'm running my own dealer. Like, here's the red line model. And I was doing the math with him, and I was like, dude, this doesn't make sense. Like, you're making insane amounts of money. And like my mind in that moment, I was like, 225 a kilowatt compared to what he's making now. Like, I'm like, is this a scam?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe it. And so like he had worked on me for probably 6 months to convince me to be like, no, like the money in solar is real. Like, I'm really making, like, I was like, show me your bank account. Like, I actually want to see the money being deposited.
Dang.
You know? And then he showed me the money he made, and I was like, dude, he made like insane. Like, I want to say it was like half a mil or something in like a year. And I was like, okay. So he convinced me. I quit my job, and then I moved back to Arizona, and we started a little dealer called Spark.
Spark days.
Yeah, we ran that for about a year and a half, and then Josh was getting his hair cut, and he saw me, and I hadn't seen Josh. I knocked for Josh in college for a couple years, and he's like, hey, let's hang out. I was like, sure. And he called me, and he was like, hey, I'm starting solar. Do you want to talk about it? I'm like, I thought he was trying to convince me to sell Dish again. And I was like, bro,
I can't do that.
I'm not selling Dish again, dude. Like, I'm not making Dish money, dude. $100 a deal isn't going to cut anymore. I have bills. And so he's like, no, like, I'm going to sell solar. Like, he's like, we're going to start a program. It's going to be legit. Like, I'm recruiting a ton of guys. He's like, but like, I need to build a program. Like, I need help, you know? And he's like, would you be interested? I'm like, yeah, maybe. Like, you know, we talked about it. It ended up making sense, and we transitioned probably in 2000. What was it? 20?
20? Yeah.
20, yeah. And then did that for a couple years. In 22, we started
Solar Pros.
Solar Pros.
Dude,
That's how we got here.
That's how J Money got in the house, man. So I'm curious, you know, going from running your own dealer to, you know, kind of being set up to like, hey, dude, like let's do what you're doing in your solar dealership on a bigger scale. Like, what were some of the changes in mindset? Because obviously you're doing a similar thing but at a larger scale. and then transitioning from that to Solar Pros, which is an even bigger scale. Like, what do you feel
Yeah.
like were some of the main lessons learned there, and like some of the transition periods?
Dude, that's a good question. Um, Man, the bigger you get, the more that you fail.
Yeah.
Like I feel like one of the things is like failure's your teacher, right? And so we're constantly, as you get bigger, those smaller things start to exacerbate and grow. And if you don't catch them in time, then it's like, oh no, we're behind the ball.
Yeah.
So like with Spark, right? We were small. We were doing 50, 75, 100 a month, right? Like, we had minimal amount of staff. We had a minimal amount of software. We had a very simple process, but it was a manual process because, we didn't have a lot of bodies to manage, right? So you start to where like, okay, I can work harder. Like there's hours in the day. I'm used to working hard, right? Like I was okay with that.
You're working 100 hours a week
Yeah. So
before.
like, dude, so like my day, I would get up and I would do proposals for my entire team.
Jeez.
So I would get up in the morning and D and I would get up and we would I would do proposals from 8 to 10 and then we'd get out those for the day. Like we were doing that for our guys, right? And then, there was like commissions task and then we had to assign area, we had to build trainings, we did small incentives. So like I had the bandwidth every day to do all that.
That's incredible.
It sucked.
Yeah.
But then there came a point where it was like okay, like I got to go out. I was getting tired to like I didn't want to go out on the doors. I didn't want to do trainings because I was doing all this work that was, stuff I could hire somebody else to do, right? So then I started to like, okay, I need to delegate. I need to put people in place. I need to train them. I need to have a process to track their performance and make sure that that's happening, right? So then we hired our first per person, right? And I take that experience. I remember that day when I handed off like proposals to our first admin. I was training her on how to do it. And I remember like the next week when I didn't have to do proposals,
You're like, oh my goodness.
I was like, what do I do with my time now? I have so much
Dude,
time.
that's awesome, man.
I have so much time. But then like once I gave that away to someone to do, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm behind on these 6 other things. Right. And I look at pros right now, like how we evaluate everything in all of our processes is like you have to make sure you're protecting your time, right? Like people, like I had some guys say to me the other day, it's like, dude, how come you don't answer your phone? And I'm like, dude, if I'm on the phone, that's like I love you, but there's probably somebody that we hired to do that. What you're gonna call me to do, and if we don't have someone hired, I need to have the time to think of who we're gonna hire to get somebody to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough time in the day for like to get it from me, right?
Sure.
And so it's been such a crazy experience to look at like, hey, who does what and where, and then everything that is a small problem eventually becomes a big problem, and meaning like somebody has to have that as their full-time job. Like I never thought that we would have somebody that just checks. You guys don't know about this, but like someone who just checks the W-9 doc that you signed on onboarding. We have somebody review those by hand every day.
Whoa. Mic down.
We do need a weight there. Does that work? All right, it's staying.
There we go.
So it's crazy because like beforehand, like obviously that was someone probably had that as part of like an hour of their day, but now we have somebody like 40 hours a week. That's all they do is just check. Hey, did you spell your name right? Did you make sure and put in your date of birth right? Is your address right? Like all that stuff. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I think, and I don't know if, a lot of people watching this really understand, like, we're talking about like Justin's like our COO. Everything that we have, every system and process, everything that you use daily has come from, in one way or another, from you. You have your hands in all of it. So Volt, onboarding, pay, how we view things in the Freedom Portal, like those are just some of the big ones, and then there's all these small intricate details that go inside of that. And then you look at going from Spark to Caliber to Freedom Pros, and then in the beginning, I remember like when we started this, 16 months ago, if we had a question, everyone, it was like, there's one person to call. It's Justin. And, we went from 200 reps to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 to, and instead of doing, 100 accounts or, 800 accounts in a month, we've gone to, 4,000 accounts in a month. Talk about like,
it's crazy.
How do you, because doing it that fast with kind of everything on you, and like, how have you figured out how to like delegate your time at such a velocity to keep up with the growth? And it's probably not, you probably just doing what you have to do, but
Yeah, some days are really long days. Like the work, like when you first start out, like you said, like we're startups, so like the buck stops at you. So like if something doesn't work or something's not properly working, right? Like if someone doesn't do it, you have to do it at the end of the day. And so like I look at the last like 3 months, and it's like just a hiring frenzy, right? Like we've been hiring so many people on the ops side. Like we've doubled our commissions team, right? We have a head of commissions now, Tiffany. Like we have a head of someone that's running admins. Like Krista officially just started running all of our admins and helping onboardings. You guys don't know this, but we have like 5 people that just manage onboarding errors. I know that people say like, hey, this broke, but like they're not seeing all the other things that like when someone types something in wrong or puts in something wrong, like there's people behind the scenes like constantly. And so what we do is we just have all these queues. We have a leaderboard basically for efficiency, right? So we look at, hey, how many tickets do we get a day, or how many emails do we get a day? And then, hey, how long does it take for us to respond to those tickets or emails or inbound requests? And that's how we know how to staff up and down basically to solve those problems, right?
Yeah.
So if we start to see like our target time is like, okay, we want to get a response out in 24 hours, like that for most tasks, right? But then there's also things that are urgent, right? And so if we start to see those times creep up, it's like, oh, we got to go higher. But now we're at a point where we're hiring so much, we need new hire training to train our W-2 employees, so that when they come in, we have trainers now that like we have someone training every single day. So we run a daily huddle. I know it's crazy. Like we have a huddle with a training class almost every day for commissions or onboarding. So
man,
just like the doors, dude, you get in a setter, he's got to sit in on training, and then he goes and he shadows. It's the same process.
I think, a quote you hear a lot is, you can only scale to the level of your systems.
Sure.
And I think that the fact that we've been able to like our model is set up for us to have explosive growth.
Yep.
And we've seen it. But you can only continue to do that.
Yep.
And then double and triple it if the systems and processes are in place. So like, I think that's a huge testament to you guys, and then obviously like our alignment with Freedom is that we've had those things in place. Like not everything's been perfect,
totally,
but most of it's been just great, and it's allowed us to do what we're doing. Dude, maybe talk about how we have our Solar Pro side and like all these admins, and like how are we communicating with Freedom? Like what does that partnership look like from the sales side to the ops side? Because we are together. Like how do we integrate with them?
Yeah. So I'll say this: one of the like when this whole thing started, I was talking with Josh. I remember I was in my kitchen and we were at the table and we had the Excel out and we were going through the comp model, and he's like, "How do you think we should build this?" And I was like, "Dude, like I don't care about anything else." I mean, I did, but I said this to him. I was like, "Technology, like, is the most important thing to me because our space is so fragmented. Like the technology is terrible. Like Lightspeed, the fact that Freedom has their own CRM that's custom, dude, it's crazy to me. Our industry, there's only one of us. There's maybe a few others. One installer that has their own technology to process stuff. Like everybody else is using something out of the box. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because our industry is so custom. Like imagine Elon Musk having to buy machines from Ford to build Teslas.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's insane.
That would never happen.
You're trying to like build it. You're trying to like back into like making sure like, okay, well, we can do it like this. And that's like, no, dude, he needs his own machines.
Dude.
He needs to build his own production line because his process is different. And it's crazy to me that like no other soul, like what impressed me and what got me the most excited about being with Freedom is like, dude, they have a massive dev team and they own their own technology. And the reason why we're here is because, dude, you're like you said, we can't scale unless we have technology. We couldn't hire enough bodies to handle like the amount of volume we're doing. Like, dude, if we didn't have an onboarding system that was automated, dude, we would die. Like if somebody had to go into a computer and punch in a name, like you can onboard a guy here at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And he'd be going, right? But if you had to have an admin go back in, type that all in, dude, we would have 100 people typing in stuff and then there's typo errors and then
just
it's like,
for onboarding.
Yeah, dude, it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. But one of the blessings is that when we sat down with Brett and Chad is I said, hey, my only ask is that, dude, we get like dedicated dev time. And they're like, done. And I look at like, dude, within 12 weeks of starting Pros, we had built a knocking app.
That's incredible.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like obviously like there's a long way to go on Volt. Like Volt's changed and grown and it's going to continue to grow. But like, dude, we built a knocking app in 12 weeks. That's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And it syncs with our CRM. So like, and dude, Volt is like at version 1 of 10. Like the roadmap we have for Volt, like where I see Volt next year is like, dude, it's going to be everything for reps. You're going to see commissions. You're going to run proposals. You're going to run credit in Volt. You're going to submit your jobs in Volt. Like you're going to manage your projects in Volt. You'll have a messaging platform with your project manager. Like, dude, where it's at today and where it's going to be is nothing. But not having that dev team or that connection with Freedom, that alignment, dude, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Dude. Yeah, because I mean, I marvel at what we've done. And then like being here in Arizona, you kind of get a unique view of every side.
Yeah.
And like, from having my own network but then being here with some like the ops team and stuff like that we have inside Pros, it's remarkable to see like what we've done and then like where we're headed. Yeah. And it kind of gives you like a vote of confidence. It's like, dude, if we've been able to keep up at such a short period of time, we've had to scramble and find and make it happen with what we've had in hand.
Yeah.
Now I feel like we're really at the point where we're actually kind of getting ahead of the game. We're ahead of like kind of like previous thinking. Like maybe talk through where you see ops going with Freedom over the next 3-5 years.
Yeah, dude, it's honestly, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Like that's like the funny thing is like obviously I started in sales, but like with being in finance, like one of the cool things is like being in finance, you get to see like how people solve problems basically. Like that's what a business is, right? You solve a need and dude, it's such a deep need that people pay money for it and they grow these businesses and sell them. And I love that aspect of it. But then when I started my own business, I was like, oh, dude, this is like the real part of it. Like you get to see a problem and fix it, right? And so like how our model works, we run on very lean margins. Like our pay is the best in the industry, right? And so like we have to solve everything not with human capital or hiring, it's with technology, right? I'll give you an example, right? So like we had commissions and we had this person doing commissions by hand, right? And commissions started, like things started to become a little inconsistent, right? Like he would call us, he'd be like, hey, I'm going to be late this week, right? When pay's late, roof's on fire.
That's not good.
House on fire, right? Nothing is happening when things are late, right? And so that happened a couple weeks in a row. And then I met with the team and I was like, guys, we got to solve this. So like we flew out, we met, and we're like, hey, this is how it looks. We built this huge Excel model together, and they're like, yeah, it's going to take us 6 months. And I'm like, we don't have 6 months. We got 2 months, maybe. Dude. At that time, I just had hired Matt. I was like, Matt, here's what's happening. So then he had to step in and backfill. But like, dude, I look at like having commissions automated today. That's insane, dude. Nobody else has that. You can see your pay 2 weeks in advance. You can see your bonuses, deductions, everything is in portal. It's live, right? So like, I think the focus of the next year is going to be on, like, we're just getting infrastructure down, right? So we want to build onboarding into Volt. We want to build our competition scoring all into Volt. We want to get our custom, like, we want to get custom reporting for all of our guys. So like, if you want to say, hey, I want to see this metric for this team, and I want it to send me a text every night with that, like, we want to give that to you, right? So we want to focus on building infrastructure so that the business runs smoothly. And I think the next few years are going to be focused on the sales tools, right? So like, one of the cool things I think that I loved with the legacy days, and it's changed now with Canvas, is we used to have this app, and to submit a job, it was like 4 clicks. Like, I distinctly remember when, like, I was submitting a job and they didn't have like an app yet. Like, it was a decent app, but it wasn't like Canvas today. But like, it was so simple to like train somebody on getting a deal submitted, because you're like, okay, you click this button, and this button. I think I look at like how much it takes us to get a proposal done today. I'm like, okay, to train somebody, it takes what? A couple weeks?
Yeah.
To get them through like Everbright, to get them through Sunrun, to get them through Aurora, like all that stuff, right? Like, I'm like, dude, we need to bring everything into one, and we need to take the 50 clicks it takes to submit a proposal and put it down to like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, taking everything, like just going through every process we have with a fine-tooth comb and being like, okay, how can we consolidate this? How can we make it easier to train on? And how can we make it simpler to understand? Because I think right now, like, dude, we have some of the best tech in the industry. It's just so good. Like, I look at the portal, the Freedom portal today. Dude, there's so much information there. It's almost too much, right?
Dude, yeah.
So I think spending that next year, consolidating all that to what the guys want to see, what's going to help them be successful into Volt, I think is going to be huge.
Man, yeah, because you got to look at, I feel like with where we're headed, and like with what we have now, like I was saying before, we're getting ahead of the game where, you know, we have everything on, almost have everything on one platform now, but like we're close. Like, you know, having onboarding in there, having everything in one spot with fewer clicks, that just means less time dealing with stuff that takes you away from selling accounts or recruiting accounts, which is kind of what we're built on.
Totally.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's cool to look at. I know it gives me confidence knowing that we have dedicated people looking at how do we make this simpler for the rep and the management of the rep so they can do what they do best.
Yeah,
dude.
I'll say this too. Like, I look at, like, I sat in a meeting today with Freedom. This is another reason I love Freedom. They have a learning and development team. So we recently hired Jackson Hott. He's our company trainer, and we'll continue to expand that team. And we're going to launch a new program. I'm not gonna take this team away from us. So I'll let Josh do that. But we're basically going to launch a new training program, and it's so amazing to see. Like, we have an LMS that we're going to integrate into the Pro app, right? To where that once guys can start having their own learning structure. You can do it by team, you can do it by region, you can do it by division, you can develop your own content. Like, dude, it's going to be amazing, right? And we have all the support and help from Freedom on one side of just getting like sales training done, and then we'll move on to the next thing from there.
Wow. Helps to have a company that makes a couple $1 billion a year to focus really just on us.
One of the perks, right? It's one of the perks, right?
It's not bad. Dude, talk to us about, because you and Josh are, you know, obviously like the main reasons that Freedom Pros exists. Obviously, like with the Salesforce and all of that, like that's what pushed it. But like, you guys are the ones that had the idea, along with Brett and these guys in that team. Talk to us about, like, when you guys were coming up with the model, because it's the model and like how it's organized is what, along with like our alignment with freedom, it's all those things combined that you can go from 200 reps to 4,500 in a year's time. Talk to us about like what that looked like in the early days and like what you guys were prioritizing. Like how'd you guys come up with that stuff?
Yeah. So I think one of the big things that I struggled with in like sales, like being in a sales company, is like, dude, you could never truly get to the top. And that bothered me. Like, no matter how good you were, like, that's the one thing I loved about the Wall Street life is like, dude, it didn't matter like who you were. Like, if you grinded, you would get promoted. Like,
Yeah.
your bonus wasn't contingent upon anyone else, it was contingent upon you. And like, it was truly like, eat what you kill. Like, obviously, there's a political component to it, right? You could probably get there a little bit fat faster, but if you were good, dude, talent rose to the top 9 out of 10, 99% of the time, I'd say. And when you're in sales, it's like this cloak and dagger, like, dude, how do I make more? How do I get promoted? How do I get a higher scale? And it was always like, oh, like we'll talk about it, right? Like, I was like, that didn't sit right with me. And I was like, dude, these companies don't grow because, and like, I was a part of this at Spark, like there wasn't transparency on like how to progress, right? And so when we started Solar Pros, like Brett's like, hey, like I want to make sure the rep is taken care of. And what that meant is creating alignment, from the beginning all the way to the end. And what we wanted to solve for is like, hey, we wanted a way and a path, a transparent way for you guys to get from, like, if you were from a different industry and you started as a setter, that you could become basically a partner in the org, right? And so our whole focus was on building the comp model and the structure so that guys knew a transparent way of how to achieve that. And like, I look at like, dude, like I obviously look at what's happened. Like, I think people appreciate that, and it's fresh because most of the time in any industry, it's like, how do I get promoted? I don't know, right? And I like, how do I get a pay raise? How do I increase my overrides? Guys don't know. And I feel like one of the cool things here is like, we have that alignment. We have the profit share model too, right? So if we win on a deal, Freedom gets paid. If we lose, Freedom also takes a hit. And our comp stack is built that way. It didn't sit right with me. Like, they have these fixed baselines or fixed red lines where like, dude, the manager, like, I look at some of my friends I know in the industry and they make great money. They make way more than me. And their life is probably, they work probably a third. Right?
Yeah.
But dude, they don't keep their people. And honestly, when their people leave, they end up hating them because they make such a big margin on their guys. When they find out what's out there in the industry, like, they come and talk to us, they're so mad because they're like, wait, dude, I sold that job at this price and my manager made more than I did. He didn't even, I haven't seen that guy in a week, you know?
Yeah, it's that.
And I'm like, that's so broken.
Yeah.
That's so broken. It's just wrong. And so like, Josh and I are like, dude, we need to be aligned. Like, when the rep needs to sell a job at a low price, everybody needs to come down on what they make. But when they win, I want to win as well, right? And then also, like, when they start doing more volume and they're underneath somebody that's not adding value, or they want to be promoted and they're doing the work and they're doing what they're asked, like, dude, we want them to be able to be promoted in a finite structure that is clear and people understand.
So how do you do all that and have the company still be profitable?
Dude, you use technology. You use technology. Like, that's like, and I say that jokingly. Like, if you look at like, I'll give you this example. It's like, when we first started, like, Josh and I were like frugal. Like, we were funding the whole business because we're like, dude, we gotta crush this. Like, if we don't crush this, like, I don't want them holding the bag, you know?
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we had a few employees, but like, we started to like grow and onboard a ton. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't think we can hire like 3 or 4 people to help us with onboarding. So I, like, late at night when I got home, I would look at like, okay, dude, like, can I build this myself? And that's how we built the onboarding app. Is like I would spend my nights and weekends on YouTube, like learning how to build this thing. And then I was like, I came into the office one week and I was like, I got it.
Dude,
I got it.
just learning how to code on Glide.
It's just like this. I really wanted to learn how to code, but I was like, I had this goal in 2022 or 2021. I was like, I want to learn how to code, and then 2022 came, didn't do it, right? So I was like, dang it, dude, I'm gonna set that goal. And then we got so busy, but I sat down I reassessed when 2023 hit, and I was like, why do I want to learn how to code? It was like I wanted to have an impact on the business. I wanted to build things to solve problems, and my bottleneck was always like, oh, I got to call a guy that knows how to do it, so that we could do it, right? And I was like, okay, I want to take him out. I want to do it, but then I was like, well, I want to impact the big business, right? So then I found these no-code platforms, basically, or like low-code, and I just YouTube all day, every day, all night, learned it, and then now we actually have a team that builds stuff for us. Like I don't build stuff today, but I know enough now to where like it's been a really cool experience because like we're working with Deb. Like it's a whole different language. It's like learning Spanish.
Yeah.
But because I learned that, dude, it's blessed me to like when we're in meetings and like how things work and how things are structured and making sure like we're being as efficient as possible. I learned that from that experience. But dude, we saved ourselves hundreds of thousands of dollars by using the no code platform to do onboarding because I bootstrapped it and learned it.
That's amazing, dude. I think that's what makes you like one, extremely valuable, but rare too, because like your value comes from truly understanding the sales side of the business. And then I always joke with you about, seeing ones and zeros. Like you're so logical and just like a raw problem solver that, learning like coding and those other things on like the ops side, and especially your financial background, you have a unique combination where those come together and you're able to, speak that language, but also speak the sales guy's language, which is, they're both so important, but like, it's like a hybrid language almost in between.
Yeah.
So if, I look back about you, dude, as one of my, I guess like probably a core memory, and it actually changed how I have you in my phone as a joke. But this is when we were at the Evolve retreat.
Oh gosh.
And Brett Bushy's there, and like we have all these speakers, all of Evolve's there, and Bushy's over in the corner like getting hyped up
Just
for
standing outside. Huh?
Yeah, and he's just slamming coffee.
Yeah,
and
dude,
we're all like,
psyched.
Me and Chris looking at each other, we're like, dude, like Bushy's gonna bring the heat. Comes walking in and he's like, I want to give you guys an example here. He's like, everyone's talking about Josh Slider and like, Solar Pros and like everything you guys are doing. And he goes, but I gotta, who do you think in Solar Pros is our most valuable person? He goes, and let's think about the Warriors. Everyone wants to say, who's the most valuable player on the Warriors? Everyone wants to say what? Steph Curry. You're wrong. It's Draymond Green. And he points over to you, dude, and he's like, Justin's our, drops some profanity there. He's like, he's our MVP, and everyone just starts cheering, dude.
Oh man.
But it's so true, man. Like it's those late nights that like, and learning how to code and all those things that, dude, like no one knows that you're doing them, but you are. And our business, like, I look at my personal business, like it couldn't have grown the way that it has without that. And I think like Bushy knows that, dude. It's like, that's why he gives like, he talks about that, and I have it Justin Gossling MVP in my phone, dog. But like, it really is so cool to see what you've done. And I think like, I want everyone to know, like, this is our guy. Like, he's making it happen in the team that you've built, with Matthew and Krista and all them, like, and like where it's going, like we're going to get even more dialed, know what I mean? But
Totally.
Shout out to you, dog.
Thanks, bro.
Dude, I think like some of the last things I think would be good to talk about is, man, like what's your take on like the standard here at Pros now? Like, Tell me like your perspective.
Dude, I mean, we talk about it every day at the gym, right? Like we're there at 6 a.m. every day. Like I think that's like a marker. Like if you talk to the leaders, like the leaders here, they get up early, they get started early, they study, like they set the standard of excellence. And I look at like the people, like here's the thing, like I don't get to meet everybody because like when we first started, I got to go to like to the recruiting meetings. It was
all
fun.
of
Like
them,
I
dude.
travel, it was so fun. I got to go to the retreats, and now everyone's like, hey, you want to come? I'm like, oh,
Don't
I
have
can't
time.
make it, bro. And like I love that stuff. Like I
Yeah.
want to get back to doing it again, and I think there will be a point. But like every time I meet a leader when they come to Phoenix and I get to talk to them for half hour, it's like they're studs.
Yeah.
Like they're hungry, they have goals, they're learning. They're like, I'm doing these 5 things. Like, what do you think? How can I improve? They want to win, and the thing they care about more than anything are the numbers. They're not even worried about like what's my check here. Like, dude, that's the most refreshing thing I think I've heard is they're like,
Dude.
bro, guess how much my reps got paid.
Yeah.
Like I had a phone call with someone this week, and dude, it was humbling. Like he was telling me like how much his guys had made, and he was like, dude, thank you. And I was like, bro, that's so awesome. Like he didn't talk about himself at all. He was just talking about like, dude, this opportunity has changed our lives. And I was like, dude, that's so amazing that like those are the caliber of leaders. And I notice it all the time too. Like we have tons of them like that come in every single month, dude, that are like, I want to be the best. I want to have the best culture. I want to provide the best opportunity. And I think here, like we set the bar of like grind, but excellence.
Excellence. Yeah.
And that's, dude, like that's the difference. Is like if you look at all the leaders in the industry, it's all about me. It's all about the money. It's all about, hey, I'll give you a fat override. It's like, no, dude, we're gonna be the biggest and we're gonna be the best. And it works, man. Like when people plug into pros, dude, they grow. They
Dude.
grow. 10 out of 10. Like I look at guys who are like, dude, I've never accomplished what I've accomplished here. And it's like because they're focused on alignment and doing the right things, but being excellent.
Well, dude, the model, it literally forces you, or you just won't survive. It forces you to be, like that it requires true leadership, which is selfless.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and like an abundance mindset, and there's levels to it obviously, but I think you see the people that grow the most and the fastest and the strongest are the ones that truly embody that.
Totally.
Tyler Jackson in his story, like pretty selfless guy,
Dude, he's the prime example.
Yeah,
of it,
he's
man.
the OG of
Yeah.
of what this whole thing is rooted on.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was I was gonna say, like, we talk about like the standard, the expectations here. Like, what do you think? And this might be another way to say the same question. Like, what do you feel like defines pros?
That's a good question. I feel like it's our focus. Like I was talking to someone. I was actually talking to Josh last week about this, and people are focused on today. Like our industry as a whole, like sales guys, like they're hand to mouth a lot of times. Like, and that's what they've been taught. But the guys that come here, they focus on the long term. Like they're not here for a year. They're not here because we have the best PPA today, or we have 2-day install times in Lubbock, Texas, right? Dude, they're here to build. They're done shopping around. They're done fooling around with all the other BS that goes on. And they're like, okay, I want to build. How do I build? And they come here and they build and they become successful. Like you look at any of our leaders, dude, like, bro, they've done more accounts here than their whole careers, dude. Like, dude, you're the prime example of that, bro. Like, I look at what you did last year versus this year, like, bro, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's because you're focused on building. Like, dude, I want to win. I want to build. I want to be the biggest. I want to be the best. And you're focused on doing that. And like, dude, I look at like the money is a byproduct of that. And dude, I'm sure your happiness is too, because dude, look at the lives you're blessing here. Like, look at the lives that we impact every day. Like, I look at something that's satisfying to me that like gets me so excited is I'm like, dude, we paid $3 million in commissions last week.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Last week. For you know how many families that is? Like, one, that's a big responsibility. I'm like, woof, that's crazy. But two, it's like, dude, think of how many lives you're changing. I don't even know all these people, but I'm like, dude, I love you for plugging in and working hard. And I'm so like, dude, I wish there were days that I could give people their big checks.
Dude, just hand
or
it
like
to 'em.
fly in and hand it to them and just like, dude, there's so many stories I hear out there. Like I went to Dallas last week just to visit with an office, and I was talking to one of the people, and they were telling me like where they came from, and like their life story was so humbling to hear. Like I was like, wow. And then they're like, but guess how much money I've made here. And they're like I'm doing this, like they're investing all this stuff, and they like broke their generational curse of poverty. And I was like, dude, like I just hugged the person. I was like, I'm so proud of you.
Let's
like
go.
That's amazing, you know. Dude. And it was because their leaders were focused on building that person and not on the check.
Yeah. Dude, what I think another like solid question to ask you, just because your perspective is unique, and you hear it from a lot of different people, but like, dude, like, why did we choose freedom?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah,
that's an easy one, dude. I think the first thing is like the resources, like dev, like having that will be our ultimate moat. Like right now, from an ops perspective, they're amazing, right? Dude, they're the biggest installer in the US, right? And they did that in 5 years. 5 years, maybe 6 years, right? Yeah, really, they started super slow, like 2015, 2017, but now, I mean, dude, we're ripping, right? But they've only built ops tools, and they're getting better, but like now they're starting to build our sales tools. Bro, game over. Like, we haven't even spent any time on it. Like, the amount of time we get to us is minimal compared to the ops right now, but like it's shifting slowly as we're growing. And I'm like, I look at what we're going to accomplish. It's amazing. I think number two, outside of tech, is the platform itself. Like, dude, no other company can you you plug into and build your business the same way in every state. Dude, efficiency comes in repeating the same process over and over and over again. Like I talk about this all the time with a team. Let's do the same process, because then you're not having to train a new way to do it, not having to learn a way to do it. And then if it breaks, it's only breaking the one way. You're not like trying to manage all these other things, right? And Freedom's amazing at that. Like they're the same in every market. The way you submit a deal, the way you follow up on a deal, like everything, it's all the exact same, right? And then the third thing is Brett has a maniacal focus on the customer. He wants to drive down costs as fast as he humanly can, which we've seen that here, like when we were at Caliber with Freedom and now at Pros with Freedom. Like, dude, the guy drops baselines like nobody's business.
Well,
like,
I mean, we've had this shit.
I don't know how he does it. I'm like, dude, he's just a maniacal operator at efficiency. And like, dude, he still says, he's like, we are at a 4 out of 10 on our operational excellence. And I love that. I love that about him, because he's focused on providing not only us, but the customer the best experience and the best price, which means it's like, dude, everybody today is seeing solar. They see it two ways: as a gold rush, like, hey, make as much as you can today, or they see it as, hey, it's a long term, but it's never gonna change, which is not true. I don't think we're gonna be making $1 a watt on every job.
No way.
I think that's going to change. But nobody else in our industry is talking about, hey, we need to get to $1 baseline. And Brett's been talking about $1 baseline for years. And he's getting closer every single year.
Oh, we're almost there in Arizona.
And dude, it fires me up so much that he is focused on getting to the floor. Because, dude, when stuff changes, when we have like a NEM 3 or this whole thing going on with APS here in Arizona, or SRP even, it's like, dude, we can go in and sell in any market, give the customer a great price, and guys make good money. Like, dude, it's a win-win, and nobody else even thinks or talks about it at all.
Dude. Yeah, when you get around that guy, his
energy.
his energy and like he really is a visionary.
Yeah.
He's one of the first like true visionaries that I guess like maybe like that high level visionary that I've been around, where you're like, whoa, like this is like you have like a leader, a true leader, and then you have this guy up here as like a visionary where like he is miles ahead
Totally.
of where everyone else thinks. Like
Totally.
the way he thinks, and I feel like we're kind of everyone's like adopting that. And
Yeah.
like, dude, you are who you're around.
It's in our culture
And
now.
it's like he's definitely been like the catalyst of that. And then Josh, Joshy, like, dude, he believed, man, like
Yeah.
almost like a delusional optimist that's like correct.
Delusional optimist. I was like, got lucky.
Yeah, it's like he's like
No.
he's like it's happening. I was talking
Yeah.
to him and it's like, dude, did you think that we would be where we're at today? Because I know a lot of us, dude, were talking to like Cam and Chris and like Chris and Jordan, these guys, like no one thought we would be like, you would see divisions doing 1,000, 700, 500 accounts in a month. But like now here we are and it's like, oh, I guess that's the new thing.
And it's winter.
And, I asked Josh, I'm like, did you think we'd be where we're at? And he's like, absolutely. I thought like, it's almost like he feels like we're behind where we're supposed to be. And I'm like, bro, we just did 28,000 accounts.
It was literally, we were talking last night. He's like, you want to know what's funny? I said we were going to do 5,000 in March. Guess what? We're going to do 5,000 in March.
Dude.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Look at you.
It's like that quote, it's crazy until it's done. And everyone's like, geez, I guess he was right.
Yeah.
So it's cool, man, to like see and it's it really does open up the minds of these younger guys coming in on like what they can actually accomplish, because the standard and the bar is so high.
Yeah.
It's so high.
Yeah.
Justin, dude, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you. Guys, this dude's he's in all of our tech, so if you see him, give him a hug, because he's making us all money. He's helping us all out, making everything more efficient. But appreciate you, dog.
Thanks, bro.